We did a gold one for Black Canyon Systems, like a really crazy sub-def ghetto blaster, and people are like, "Oh, I prefer that black," and that's crazy. It's like the reasoning behind using that gun, you're so high vis, that's ridiculous. It's like, y'all really think someone who's gonna drop bands on an AR, like thousands of dollars on a gold AR, only has one gun to use? You know what I'm saying? So that's also the aspect, is like, some of these aren't meant to be EDC'd. Oh, when it hits the fan, you got to grab this one. It's a little different, you know what I'm saying? So.
And that's the thing I love about it, because it's the safe queen you can use. This episode of the Colion Noir podcast is brought to you by Vetter Holsters. Welcome to another episode of the Colion Noir podcast, and joining me is Mr. Iron Monkey himself.
How you doing, everybody? It's good to see you again, Colion. You know, it's been a journey, almost 2 years since we first met, and
it's been some time.
Yeah, a lot can change, and it just
like you looking like you got younger.
You know, I don't know what it is, but I can thank my mom's genetics and a little bit of Botox. You know, hey, you know, that's the first piece of sauce I can give. But yeah, no, it has been a crazy journey. We have just wanted to start off by thanking you. I feel like meeting up with friends and industry people who have pushed our brand forward so much has really helped us just catalyze so aggressively and help us take over in these last 2 years. And I just want to start with that.
Yeah. So, so for people who don't know what you do, what is it that you do?
I get magician a lot. Like, a lot of people say that. But at the end of the day, there's always tricks behind the curtain. And to be really clear, we just wanted to mainstream, popularize, and also dominate the space of custom firearms, specifically around shiny, right? Shiny and engraved, things that have been done for hundreds of years, right? You see old ancient swords that have beautiful craftsmanship, embellished French swords, things like that with engraving and things like that. That's actually where we pull most of our inspiration from. Yeah. Obviously, the mainstream media has a more Latin American twist to it a lot of times, but as we've been branching out for the brand, it's been a lot of older companies, more established companies, and even new, young, hip companies picking us up and doing collaborations with intentionality. So super pumped about that. So basically, if you would synthesize it, we do gold guns, but there's a whole ecosystem around it. You know what
it's
I mean?
Weird because it's like you say that, and if you don't, and we may or may not overlay it with some of the work that you've done in this, it's just, when you say gold guns, I don't think it does it justice. You know what I mean? So it's really one of those things you kind of have to see. At least for me, because that's how, when I saw it for the first time, I was like, "Damn, that's beautiful," right? Yeah. And I think the first thing I saw was your staccato. Yeah. And I saw that, and I was like, "Yeah, that's sick. That's really sick." And so, it's for me one of those things on paper. If it's written, it's like, okay, go guns. And then, like, what comes to mind is, like you said, the kind of more Latin inspired kind of side of things. But for me, I don't put them in any category other than just beautiful, personally.
Yeah. And I think that we've seen gold AKs in movies. It's almost such an iconic silhouette, just alongside, you know, all the other classic firearms. When you think of an AK, you think, oh, gold AKs, and that's really hot. And I think that was really where we wanted to start, right? Where everyone finished, that's where we wanted to start. And as we started catalyzing and building more and doing more, that's why this year we had the gold RPG that went super viral at Pelican's booth, that gold Shytech M200 intervention, all gold plated at Radical Firearms booth, the 24 karat gold plated Barrett. Like, it's just those really grandiose pieces really can show how much effort and work and our scalability that we have in the brand. Yeah.
The thing I love about it the most personally is I love that it kind of, what you do with guns gives us permission to kind of have fun, right? Because I think sometimes the gun world can take ourselves too seriously. And I think that, and I'm not saying what you do is non-serious, not even by any stretch of imagination, but what it does is it kind of breaks us out of this kind of All right, so I've got to give a quick shout out to Vetter Holsters. They're now sponsoring the podcast. I've been using their light tuck kydex inside the waistband holster, and what I really like is how adjustable it is. You can tweak the ride height and cant to get it exactly how you want. Plus, they've got holsters for over 450 gun models in 75 different colors, so you can pretty much find whatever you need. But here's the thing that really sets them apart: their customer service. I've heard so many stories about how they've gone above and beyond to make sure you're happy with your holster, and with a lifetime warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee, it's clear they stand behind their products. If you're in the market for a great holster, check them out at betterholsters.com. Box of expectations. And a lot of it has to stem from the fact that, we get attacked so regularly in the gun space. So we're constantly having to establish ourselves as being so serious. Yeah. But I think what the art, I call it an art form, with what you do, to me, it feels refreshing. Yeah. It's kind of like guns can look as different as we want them to look, right? And still be as functional.
In terms of the advocacy space that I know that you're very well versed in, and especially for your viewership, that's one of the things they love you for is how much of a 2A advocate you are. I know that I don't want to be like, I do my part, and nothing like that. But one of the proud things that we hear is, I don't normally like guns, but that's dope. That's the one that I saw back in Call of Duty, or that's the one, I got 1 million kills on that one in Call of Duty and this and that. And I think that's such a huge bridge for people. Like, oh my God, I'm not a gun person, but that is so cute. Like, I'm like, all right, shorty, before you get one, you should probably put some rounds down range, take a course, things like that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that is so valuable, and it's overlooked in my small part in participating in the industry. But it's like making people more comfortable and understanding, like, the respectfully, the offensive black silhouette of a gun, it is political. Yeah. It is difficult to ingest, and people be like, "Nah, I'm good off that."
Yeah, I've seen it with my own. What I call what you do is I call it gateway advocacy. Right? It's you serve as a gateway into the space for people to come into in a way that they otherwise wouldn't, right? Because like you said, some people see the black gun as literally almost offensive, no pun intended. Now, I've seen with my own eyes. Nobody caught that joke. I feel some type of way. You didn't catch it. You didn't catch it either. I think Peter caught it. No, you didn't catch it. But you still didn't catch it. You still don't know. I'll explain it maybe later.
You can guarantee it's probably a racist thing.
Yeah, it is.
There it is. There it is.
The black gun being almost offensive.
Yeah. I got you.
Just don't resist.
Shut up.
Stop resisting.
I'll never forget the day I was in a gun store, and I watched this lady, and I can tell and it was in Dallas, and I can tell she fit the kind of typical, anybody who knows Dallas knows the Highland Park look, and she kind of fit that Highland Park look, like that very well to do, very well taken care of, manicured, all that crap, and very nice. And she's in there and she's looking at handguns, and like she looks like she kind of has some background in handguns and stuff like that. And she's talking to the sales guy, and I'm really cool with the sales guy too. So I'm just standing off in the corner, just kind of paying attention to what's going on. And he's showing her the handgun, and she's like, "Yeah, I want to get a handgun for just protection out here in Dallas and stuff like that." And he was like, I think the handgun's good. He's like, but just for home defense, you might want to consider also maybe like looking at something like an AR or something like that. Instantly, her entire energy completely shut down. She was like, "Oh no, absolutely not." She's like, "I will never buy anything like that." And it baffled me, because I'm like, but you were completely open-minded to the idea of a firearm as a handgun. But the moment you started talking about the stereotypical black AR, it was like a switch flipped in her brain. And in a lot of ways, it wasn't even so much her being offended by it, but almost like she didn't want to be judged by the people. Because I think she might have been from like somewhere in Cali. Yeah. She didn't want to be judged
by the community.
Exactly.
Her HOA might say something. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
So that is, when you talk about people coming into the space through the gateway of what you do and saying, it kind of lowers their guard a little bit, because they're almost overcome by the aesthetic appeal. right?
Yeah.
And then allows them to then float down the river of the gun world into wherever they decide to go.
Yeah.
Then that's why I call it gateway advocacy in terms of what you do. You may not be doing it for the specific purpose of that, but it still has the intent. It still has the consequence of it. And so, even though you think you're not part of the advocacy space, I still consider it part of the advocacy.
Yeah, and I know that some people are like, oh yeah, right. But you might have one shiny thing at your retail store that you might be, accustomed to, and it might be a huge price or something like that, and you're like, oh, I would never get anything like that.
Yeah.
As people who see, interface, sell, deal, shiny firearms, beautiful nickel-plated, gold-plated, gloss black, things like that, we see that daily. Whereas like, oh, I want to try out guns because I saw that and you did this for this celebrity or that, and it's kind of getting me into it. And I think you and I can both agree that more well-trained and armed Americans is higher value than people who are just not interested at all.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, that gateway, I apologize for all the addicts that we got addicted to firearms through starting with one of our pieces. We see comeback people all the time like, oh, I need to get that for my boy or this or that. But I think it opens up a whole community. And even at our retail location, we're very insistent on not being consumers and commercializing firearms, like buy as much as you can. Just buy something, make it make sense, train with it. If it's logical, we'll get you right. And I think with a 1.5-year backlog too for like custom
Crazy.
one-of-ones, it's really hard for us to be like, oh yeah, let me salesmanship something for you. But it's more like, all right, what's the story? What's the vision? Why do you want a custom piece? And is this your first gun? If so, the 43Xs, the P365s, those are a great option for you. And if you want to put a little something on it, I could do that for you. But let's get you right first. And that conversation with the team members has been had so many times. So I do really back that. I know people roll their eyes, but like our world being that we are the only people who really, really, really do it at this scale, I see it every day. So it's just a fun side of the industry that not many people think about.
So where's your actual brick and mortar store based?
It's in Kenmore. It's like the closest to Seattle you can be without being like directly in Seattle. And that's really just because the laws in Seattle, everyone's banging on us, hating and saying, you guys are crazy for being out there. It's like, I was born and raised Pacific Northwest. I love my city. I was Seattle proper, you know what I mean? And I think for me, I do love it. And we have seen so many gun stores close, and projected by July, 70% of the FFLs in Washington will close doors because of newer restrictions that are happening and bills in place. We started with the magazine ban, and then that in conjunction with the pistol brace ban at the time, and then they did an assault weapons ban all within a 2.5 year period.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I stepped into the industry secretly less than 3 years ago, which shocks everybody. They're like, you're everywhere. How did you? I mean, like a lot of Red Bull, a little bit of Adderall. Can I say that? I'm just playing. But no, it's been so interesting. So even for us, like our retail store, if you opened one in Seattle, there's a 6 cents tax, 6 cents per round that you are charged.
Jesus.
From 22 to 50 BMG. That's crazy. On top of that,
that's wild.
Consumers are paying the Washington State Department of Licensing $20 to do background checks now, in conjunction.
That's
with,
on top of
the price of the gun.
So,
that's crazy. And then the 10-day wait period. Imagine going to Chipotle, right? You're trying to slang burritos, but thank you for your order. We got it wrapped up for you. Come back in about 2 weeks. And then we just store them in the back like we're like gun hoarders, These are the laws, but what I love is that our custom like how much we make in our custom company and shipping to all states and also internationally, that actually keeps our not that poppin' retail store open. And I think that's so valuable in terms of community service. A lot of these big gun stores and companies that have been around so long are shutting down. 7 or 8 of our close friends, when I was getting into guns, when I was really young, I would go there and we'd buy guns. My dad would, all that together. And I think ultimately we're seeing them all close because the numbers don't make sense. They don't make sense for me, but thank God, like we built ourselves in a place where we make a very specific product at a very, very high quality and good production. So My retail store went down about 55% in sales last year, and then went down even further this year. But that only accounts for maybe 8 to 10% of our whole brand's revenue. So I would say, like, I'm not trying to, like, pull nobody's ear or get into them or you know, give no advice. But if you're going to start a business, make sure you know what the implications are long before. Starting a gun company in Seattle, are you crazy? It's like, well, no, we road mapped a whole section about it, understanding that a lot of attacks on the 2A space where I live are imminent, but we got to hold the line, even if it don't make financial sense for that section. And I'm not trying to be like Mr. Patriot, but I'm saying I lose a lot of time and money doing that. But I'm happy to, because I love the community and I think it's important. Seattle crime skyrocketed. SPD, their budget went way down. They're 30% understaffed last I heard. And so you call the police nowadays, ain't nobody gonna pick up the phone. They ain't gonna open the doors. Hold tight, you know what I'm saying? It ain't like that. And so I think that perfect cross section just for non-custom guns for us has really been receiving a lot of love from our community. So as far as I can see, we're gonna hold it in there, you know, but you never really know how the laws can change.
Oh yeah, trust me, I know all too well. But so, considering all of that, like, you look like you're about 12, right? So, like, talk to me about, and I kind of have an idea already, right? So this is kind of a setup question, but just for people who aren't really familiar with you, like, what was your background, and then what got you into the space where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna open up a gun shop, and then I'm gonna start customizing guns and start selling them to the rest of the country. Like, why or how?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I get this question all the time too, because people are like, I don't know. I don't want to be like super vain, but they're like, you're more of a K-pop star than a gun nut. I'm like, okay, first of all, that has to be racist. I'm not Korean. And second of all, thank you. You know what I'm saying? And that's really difficult. You know, like, we're walking around the show. Everyone's got their company polos on. We're rocking a full Prada suit. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. I don't fit that traditional mold, but I think that it's so important to show multiple faces of this industry as well. So I know I don't have the traditional bearded aesthetic. If I could grow one, I would. But, you know, it's give and take.
I tried. I gave up.
You know? Hey, come on. You got a lot more than I do. But I haven't shaved in a few months.
Yeah.
But, no, the life story really, it's so interesting, I think, to keep it short. You know, we had talked about it the first time we did a few videos together. But for me personally, I had a traditional Asian upbringing where my parents weren't always financially viable, you know what I mean? And things weren't always as comfortable as they were. And I think my dad's positive attitude, he was always like, you know, it'll be all right. You know, you don't need that. We're good. You know, we're healthy and there's food in the fridge. You know what I mean? But I knew that there was a lot of struggle for them going through it. So I actually think culturally, I'm proud to say, like, yeah, like, despite the community I was in, which wasn't super fancy. It was rather urban, actually. So none of my close friends went to college or cared about college. Nobody I knew, like, going to school went to college. I actually didn't even go to college myself in the beginning. And I just think, like, you know what? I woke up and I said, yo, like, trying to be a trapper or trying to be cool or, you know, just like kicking rocks. It really wasn't right to see my family working. And I know I still got a lot of pushes before I can retire them, but that's definitely the goal. But to get there, I think I moved to Mexico originally just to do some construction, nonprofit stuff. So I did that for a few years. It was nice. It felt nice. It was horrible. We're just in the desert, in the jungle, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a struggle. I know, even in the video, I was speaking a little Spanish, just talking about our product, you know, where we got inspiration. You're like, hold up, you know?
I was like, where the hell did this come from?
Yeah, I did. I lived in Mexico for a good amount of time. And then I came back to stateside, you know, during this thing where, like, there's a big cartel war due to you know, Obama bringing a bunch of guns in this secret mission. Long story short, Google. It's actually really fascinating. But
you talking about Fast and Furious?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you already know. You already know. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, Chino, I think you should go home. It's a little dangerous. I said, you know what? Gracias pa todo. Voy a la casa. You know, I told him I'm out of here. When I got home, I
Oh,
was
so
like,
they really were telling you that.
yeah. The places we were at, as cool as it was, people don't travel there. People don't vacation in Sinaloa. People don't go to Mazatlan, like Arriba Zamora, shout out, you know what I mean? People don't really go there, though, and kick it. But I got back home, and I was like, "Aye, what's up for that? You know, what we gonna get into?" I was working at a Subway. Making sandwiches at a convention center. And I said, you know what? And I'm going to say something crazy too.
Yeah.
Where we were living, like I was on a good diet, you know, like beans, tortillas, egg, sometimes chicken.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When I got there, I was working the counter and I got 2 jobs. I got to cash people out and also restock the cookies. But I made it a point to try a cookie every time a fresh batch came out. You know what I'm saying? That's my job. I got to do what I got to do, you know? I'm a selfless guy. I got to do what I got to do. But there was a shorty. She was a little thicker. She's like, you nasty. You going to eat all them cookies? I was like, what are you talking about? They're delicious. She's like, you know how much calories in that? And I was like, it's Subway. It's Eat Fresh. Goddamn, 225?
Yeah.
I ate a box of donuts, comparatively, a box of donuts every single day, every shift. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I was like, yo, I'm gonna have a salad. Y'all make salad here after that? It was crazy.
Peter has to listen when we go on these road trips, these long ass road trips. First of all, the only place to really eat when you're traveling cross country road trip wise is fucking Subway.
Okay, that has to be an ad.
Like, no, it's the truth. They're every, because you know you stop at the gas stations, and so every gas station it's a Subway. Every once in a while you have one that have their own little independent taco shop or something like that. No, everything is a Subway.
Yeah.
And I go and I try not to eat the Subway stuff because I grew up on Subway.
Yeah.
But I really love the cookies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when you said the cookies, the fat boy in me was like,
He like, hey Peter, we gotta, hey, wrap this up. I gotta bounce out. You know what I'm saying?
So I make it a point, I try to avoid them. But when you're on the road for like 9 to 16 hours, and then you stop, and then Peter has to hear me like feel guilty about it because I've eaten 3 of them plus a foot-long meatball sub with everything on it. Yeah. So then it's like, so I
we're locked in.
Yeah.
But I know that's crazy, and I'll keep it even briefer now. But I think the big thing was after I got back from Mexico, I wasn't doing real much for my life, you know, and I thought about it and I looked at it and I think I was like, more than an educated, good grade Asian, I can be a good storyteller. And what happened to me in Mexico and the people we served and the communities we saw, I'm gonna write about that and apply to college. So I went to University of Washington. I got in, and my dad's like, yo, you know, when you were younger, I invested a bunch of money into this Get Fund. It was like college access kind of thing. And then when we went back to it 15 years later, they just said, hey, sorry, we made some risky bets and all that money's gone. And, you know, it wasn't a lot, but for our family, $2,000-$3,000, and it was supposed to pay for everything. You know, boys on Wall Street started slanging it and, you know, made bets that they shouldn't have done and lost all that money. So shout out that company. But the big one was thanks to the little amount my dad was paid, I did get a full ride the first year with FAFSA. So shout out my pops for putting me through college by making it so little. But it was really crazy. I ended up going to the business program there, graduating in 2 years. I entered Amazon, and they tried to pull me out to work there. And then I converted over to Boeing, so I did finance at Boeing for a good period of time. Honestly, it's a pension company, so I just sit back and relax. Everybody's not doing too much. And then I ended up at Meta, so I worked at Facebook side for almost 4 years. So that was crazy living in San Francisco. But I think COVID is really interesting because it brings out the entrepreneur in a lot of bored savages. You know what I mean? When you want something and you really want to push and you want something different, I'm going to say this respectfully. I saw the gun industry not like, oh, that's my key mark, I'm going there, I got to do it. But it was a vessel for my creativity at the time. You know what I mean? And my dad still remembers the days where we were like I was in the basement, you know what I'm saying? Coming out the mud, I was using sandpaper and I was hand polishing this. You know, when we say hand polishing, the ones we do is we actually use large machines, discs, pneumatic discs, things like that, right? I was in a trench type of deal, you know? Like I felt like Iron Man from Iron Man 1 in the cave, you feel me? But the first piece I came out, It was a mirror finished Beretta 92 FS. The military surplus one was $200-$300.
Yeah.
You know, just for funsies, looked beautiful. I sneezed on it. The next day it was rusty, so that's on me. That's on me. But after that, because of my dad's background and being a mechanic, he was like, you know, you should go get that chrome plated. And then looking at the metrics and slowly partnering with companies and building into our own piece, that's really the catalyst of it. And we made a lot of mistakes, and I put a lot of bread on other people's plate for them to eat. A lot of these huge companies where the margins were so low, I even lost money, a lot of long nights. But starting to do that, I always kept in mind that you could do gold guns and people can see through a cash grab.
Yeah.
It's easy. But for me, I was like, you know, I'm going to maintain all the learnings I did as a product developer at Meta, and we're going to be storytellers. We're going to start with a beginning and we'll do a hypothesis, and we'll add evidence, and we'll retest and multiple iterations, and we'll come out with something beautiful. And the underlying factor will be the why. I think if you guys can take anything from this, whatever business or sector you're in, if you don't tell a story, if you don't have a why, you're just doing to do. You know what I mean? I did work myself from white collar to blue collar. Don't do that. But you know what I'm saying? Like the collar nowadays be a lot crispier than the ones I used to wear. You know what I mean? I'm just grateful for that. But
yeah, for sure.
Long story short, you know, there were a lot of crazy things in between. But I think the thing that a lot of people don't understand and how big you could really get in such a short amount of time was my company and my FFL. You could check the paperwork. We had existed for about 5 months the day I met you. And I had brought one gold scar. No one's ever done the scar, dog.
Yeah, I remember that.
And FN will tell you just in the sight, there are more parts in the sight than there is probably in the whole gun. And they don't really make little documents on how to do all that,
Yeah.
you feel me? So we're scratching, we're trying to figure it out. But we did that one, brought it to shot, and then the mirror finished diamond-like carbon for the Staccato XC, the engraved one that you see. And it just, we made it snap, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, Safe Queen, no, come on. We gonna shoot that. We gonna run it, you know, holster, unholster, all that. And you seen it, you know, the Staccato guys and a lot of other companies saw it. We did the video, and then Dan Bilzerian called and said, I want to buy that, how much? And then, we came back out to Vegas to see him, and ever since it's just been doing that on a corporate side, so B2B, and also just working with a lot of humans and celebrities and things like that. It's just, and 2 years in, we've got about 40 companies that have our custom guns in their booth this year. You know what I mean? And I'm just so grateful for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to have been at the kind of the precipice of it. Well, not the precipice, but at the beginning. Like
absolutely.
That initial kind of stage. And I knew you were new, but I didn't know exactly how new.
Yeah.
But I just like, man, I was like, you're doing great stuff. And I was like, this is going to be dope. And I'm just glad that so much of the industry has taken to it. Yeah. Have you, now in here, but have you run into any resistance? Like, you ever any criticisms that people are kind of bashing you for with respect to what you do? Is that something you deal with on a regular, or where are you at now with all that?
Yeah, and here's what I'm gonna say as well is like, cash grabs are easy to see through. Mm-hmm. That's whack. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, humbly and respectfully, there's been chirping, but not enough noise. And I take a lot of things personally, but if you look at the comments and people who talk about us and do this, and that, they can say, oh, that's shiny, that's not for me, but I respect the hustle. You know what I mean? I would prefer it rattle canned, but that's dope though. Or like, nah, make it black. Like, those are all conversations that I understand, and I get that. And those are not critiques, those are preferences. You know what I mean? I expected a lot more pushback from industry, but I mean, obviously we started doing a bunch of AKs, like for all the big brands. Yeah. And then we did a bunch of Magnum research, the Desert Eagles, and we have a few lines coming out.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my recent video on the Desert Eagle. I hate that damn gun. But I had thought about sending you mine.
We'll get you right. We got a few hundred on docket that we're taking. I'll sneak one in there. You feel me? But the big thing is those ones were obvious. Like anybody who knows anything, those are obvious. You know what I mean? But the crazy ones, the ones that really started to change the temperature, was like just this month alone, at the beginning of February, we're going to drop a collaboration with Noveski where we're doing some gloss black ghetto blasters, some gold ghetto blasters.
Yeah.
The other crazy one, we're doing a Zev collab that's February 14th, and it's gloss black with a maroon grip. That one's going to be crazy. A bunch of PSA guns coming out, a bunch of Colts. We're doing this crazy, beautiful memorial one, or it's like an anniversary pistol for the West Point graduates.
Yeah.
That's
pretty
crazy,
dope.
right?
That's yeah.
And I'm going to talk about that really quickly
go ahead.
because what we do now in the space, although it is gold, there's a swagger and technicality to being great. And so I'll break it down real quick. And these are units multiplied by a figure of hundreds. We're not doing, I'm going to do 7 guns. No, it's hundreds. And one of the really cool ones about the West Point is a lot of the graduates, sometimes they get a bunk gun, will just, it'd be like West Point 06 type of deal.
Yeah.
For this one, it's insane because we're leveraging classic looks with like brand new technology for the execution. And one of the really cool ways is y'all have seen like gloss black, hot blued guns where, I got to get it re-blued or it didn't hold up as well. And things like Grandpappy's old lever guns got to be re-blued. We get that conversation all the time. But for this one, in terms of storytelling, I could have gone all gold. That's cool. People will look at that, that's gaudy, that's whack, that don't make sense. But we understand our target and we're going to tell a story with it. And so what we're doing is we're doing fully engraved, a beautiful flag, a very, very intricately detailed eagle on it. It has all the correct mantras from the West Point graduates, Spartan helmet, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's beautifully engraved. And we're doing a mirror finish after it's engraved, mirror finish polish on it. So it's raw. Don't breathe on it. Don't look at it. It can rust. You know what I mean? It's like that. And then we send it off to get diamond light carbon coated. So now you get this beautiful engraved gloss black DLC gun. You can holster on holster it, shoot it like crazy, like you did with the XC and all these 2011s that we're doing now. But you can do all that on a classic looking pistol. It's gloss black and engraved. And if you say, oh, that's crazy, it's like, bro, have you not been around for the last 100 years where they do memorial, commemorative, things like that?
Yep.
And I think it's like that. So you have a beautiful piece and like, okay, the Safe Queen, I get. There's places for it. This ain't it. I'm going to make 300 units of it, and we're going to have beautiful DLC. But we go even crazier as we take that beautifully finished slide, and we're going to laser off the DLC and polish it again. And that DLC, the formula that we use with the company that we decided to go with after trying 20 in the industry, the ones that we use ourselves are like based in aerospace. So these guys really know what they're doing, but it's such robust DLC that our buffing wheels can't even pull it off. So what we're going to do is we're going to mirror finish the stars that we laser engraved off, put it back in the gold plating, and now it's all gloss black with gold stars, chrome accents. So it's everything.
Yeah.
To do that technique, and here's a little bit more sauce for anyone who wants to come after our brand and join my gold gun takeover. The crazy thing about it is the only way to get that gold and black that you see in those beautiful guns is gold inlay. So you inlay gold with a hand engraver, then you polish it all off and then hot blue it, and then gold protects the bluing. So that's how you see that two-tone.
Yep.
I know that's too technical. We were all falling asleep.
I get what you're
Peter's
saying.
on his phone, so that's how you know I'm boring.
No,
I'm just
podcast is
no, but I think the big thing is really like it's those really sexy techniques that we're leveraging to be able to be different and make different stuff, and those are really exciting. So in terms of pushback and chirping from the industry, we have actually received so much love that you wouldn't expect, and we're looking to go into a conversation with really big companies this year, and I think we set the temperature and it's hot. We saw the Reserve come out from SIG, absolutely beautiful, but that mirror finished diamond light carbon, that's a wave. I ain't seen a lot of that before we stepped up, you know what I mean? Yep. And so our conversation with SIG went incredibly well, and looking in the next run, we did that beautiful lever action at Smith & Wesson's booth in collaboration with Ranger Point and PewView. Absolutely stunning, and we're going to try to wheel and deal a huge line of those, and that in conjunction with all the other cool stuff that we're doing. I have heard some chirping and things like that, but nothing crazy enough for me to be upset, because at the end of the day, we said a why. Why did we do it like that? What's the point of that? You know what I mean? And there's places and times and places for every gun. We did something really interesting too, where it's like, we did a gold one for Black Canyon Systems, like a really crazy sub-def ghetto blaster, and people are like, "Oh, I prefer that black," and that's crazy. It's like the reasoning behind using that gun, you're so high vis, that's ridiculous. It's like, y'all really think someone who's gonna drop bands on an AR, like thousands of dollars on a gold AR, only has one gun to use?
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? So that's also the aspect, is like, some of these aren't meant to be EDC'd. Oh, when it hits the fan, you got to grab this one. It's a little different. You know what I'm saying? So.
And that's the thing I love about it, is because it's the safe queen you can use.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And not just kind of use, not just take out to the range and shoot and a little bit. Like, if you really want to run it, you can, like, without question. And so I think that's the beauty behind it. And for me, that's what stuck out the most to me, is that aspect of that duality of purpose. It can be a work of art that's completely functional.
Absolutely.
And you get me every time if you do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so that's been really what's cool. I think I'm gonna say something too that we're really grateful about, is like, we're making big pushes to step outside the industry as well. And I think that's super important in terms of advocacy. So this year as well, we've had a lot of really cool celebrities reach out, a lot of pro fighters. One of the ones I'm excited about is we're making a beautiful piece for Jake Paul. I'm sure he's not going to see it, but or this video, but
be surprised.
You know,
I've been surprised.
my uncle, fam through, the Asian tree, Uncle Johnny Dang, he's going to set the stones in it for us. And
Somebody out of Houston?
Oh, Johnny Dang, man, King of Bling, Diamond Baby. No, we did a FaceTime and we were just talking about it, but it's just these cool things where it's like, we want to bring the rest of the world into this gun space. Yeah. And it's these influential leaders like you and others that are going to help get people understanding, like, yo, guns can actually be cool. And like, I can actually put my own flavor on it, and then you're excited to carry it. You know what I'm saying? Then you're excited to rock it. And just as there are custom shoes, there are custom chains, there are custom everything, it's like, I want to set that. And when you come to me, it's like, I'm the Johnny Dang of guns. And people say that all the time. So of course that collaboration makes total sense. No. I could be anyone. You know what I mean? It could be Ben Baller, but well, he's Asian too.
Yeah. You're not winning this.
I'm stuck in a hole. But I think that's really cool. Like, one of the cool ones is, like, I was just out in LA with Yeet. Really hot up and coming rapper. He's actually he's popping, everyone listens to his stuff. We're doing a bunch of pieces for him. And one of my favorite celebrities this year that really showed a ton of love was Larry June, absolute king of the Bay. And he flew us out and we were able to hang out with him with the weekend. We did a beautiful mirror finish diamond light carbon staccato. He had a classic staccato, stippled grip by Monsoon, and his orange logo on it. Yeah. But he showed us a lot of love, and it's people like that and plugging us into all these little connections that's really going to help. Like, we are going to get the platform of people who would never show guns to show guns, and I think that's what's so key about what we do and so inspirational. So if you guys can make enough noise in whatever business or brand that you're building, and you can get people inspired by it, just sit back, watch. The orders will come in, and treat people right. I think that's the second thing about hate, is that I've shown so much love to people in this industry, and I haven't tried to be a big dog. A lot of these guys are, they've served in the military, or they're big, roughneck, thick dudes that come up like, who you, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And for us, I'm just like, I'm a young guy out of Seattle, and I do what I can, and I make beautiful guns. It's your thing or it's not. Yeah. And that's kind of how it is. And we're also trying to change the way the industry looks at it. And I think it's definitely working.
I mean, I love what you guys are doing. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got to support over here.
Of course. Thank you, brother.
No worries, man.
That's huge.
Yeah, but really appreciate you for taking the time out to come out.
Of course.
Of course. You're always welcome on this side of the pond, so to speak, because you're over there.
In Texas.
Yeah. You're over there in Seattle.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Dude, but I really appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir.
Always good to see you. When you see me, I'll look even younger, I hope. I'm playing. Y'all gonna see me, I'm gonna be bald. Come on, turkey, here I come. I'm just playing,
I do got a project for you. I want to do something with my very first rifle that I ever bought.
Easy.
I want it to be something that I could hand down at some point, and I think you do it justice.
Yeah. And that again, that's the beautiful thing is it's a story where this is
Yeah.
my first piece. It is immortalized on the wall. You ain't gonna take it down and bang it, and when you hear the knock at the door. But it's one of the things too where, as a gun store owner, we see young kids come in all the time, 21, 22 years old. Hey, I just got this from my grandpa. We've been passing it down generations. I need like $250 for it. Like, wait, you're gonna sell that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, no, it's an old lever action. You know, I want to. And I'll be like, hold on, no, just keep it in the family. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
these are heirlooms. You know, if you want a little money, go work, drive Uber, do whatever. But I think one of the cool things too is like, one day as you pass that down, there may be someone in the family. Well, let's hope and pray not, but who isn't as interested in
Yeah.
firearms and says, "Oh, that's great grandpa Colion's gun. You know, let's just sell that. We need money." And if it looks like a traditional gun, it's beat up, whatever, boom, gone.
Yep.
But if it's like, you know, it's all gloss black and it's beautiful, it has our family name on it, I'm gonna keep that. Let's see if we can sell some of our Nikes or something like that.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
so
Right there.
it's beautiful. I love it, and we'll get you right. No questions asked.
Absolutely,
I got
man.
you,
Looking
brother.
forward to it, brother.
Thank you.